front of me, I've got a regular burger with cheese, I've got a plant-based burger, and I've got a bunch of bananas. In order to produce the regular burger is going to cost about 3 kilograms of greenhouse gas emissions. Plant-based burger is only about a kilogram, and bananas are about 100 grams each. What that means is, despite having to ship these in from tropical climates, you could eat about 30 bananas for the same greenhouse gas emissions as a regular burger. So that means that burgers really are quite CO2 intensive, and yeah, they're not very good for the environment. I love eating meat too. I think only 20% of the population would describe themselves as vegetarians or vegans. But I don't think we're going to solve the climate crisis by persuading people to eat meat never again. So I think the biggest thing that most of us could do is to cut down on meat consumption, which is something I'm trying to do. But we have to look for alternatives. And one possible alternative could be, instead of growing this beef on the side of a cow, which causes loads of methane emissions, you could take stem cells from the cow, put them into a bioreactor and grow beef cells in a bioreactor and make your beef burger from so-called clean, cultivated meat rather than a farmed animal. And that would cut down the CO2 emissions and the greenhouse gas emissions and offer the world a better alternative to regular meat, I think. So at the moment, crop farming is a lot better than rearing animals. And one of the big problems of crop farming is that about 20% of the crops we grow go to feed animals, which we later eat as meat. So although, there's obviously a carbon consequence of growing crops in huge industrialized farms using machinery and transportation and processing, it's still a lot better than farming the same crops and feeding to animals for meat. So the other thing we could do to reduce our CO2 emissions is cut wastage. So you invest all these CO2 emissions or greenhouse gas emissions to growing these things, and about 20% of it is just wasted straight into the bin where it decomposes and emits the CO2 or methane straight back out again. So one of the things we could do to cut down on emissions is cut down waste, or we could capture those emitted gases from our waste and use that for energy production.